Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we'll be doing a 1,000-mile review on my brand new 2021 Audi S3. So I'll be talking about the time it went to Forge Motorsport and it had some development work done onto it. Hint, it's under there. I'll also be talking about it went to MILLTEK as well for development. As you can see with those massive exhaust tips, it went for there for a catback exhaust, so I'll be talking about that too. And I'll also be talking to you about a general overview of what I think in the first 1,000 miles. The things I like, the things I dislike compared to the old model. And we'll also go out for a drive. We'll do a 0 to 60 as well to see if it's what Audi advertised, see how quick it is. And also we'll be doing a review on how the exhaust sounds as well. The exhaust has now done about 300 miles. It has got considerably louder from when I first actually got it. From when I first got it, I didn't think it was much different to stock, but it has actually got considerably louder over the last 300 miles. So we'll be doing a nice road test to listen to that as well. So guys, the first thing we are going to do is give her a clean. It is absolutely hanging, hasn't been cleaned in absolutely ages. So I cannot show you around a dirty car. So 3, 2, 1. There we go. How much better does this look? It is such... I don't know, I really am a fan of black styling, but when it's clean like this, the chrome, not so much the chrome grille, but the aluminium trims around the doors and the side skirts, it just pops and it looks really nice. And I think Navara blue is one of the few colours that works very well with black styling and alley styling. But it's just such a nice colour. But there she is. So this is a 1,000 mile or thereabouts. It's just under 1,000 miles, but this is like an overview, update, review of what it's been like to live with. So no actual like 5-minute review, someone's just jumped in it, taken it for a spin. This is more of a day-to-day living with the car, like what I've noticed over 1,000 miles, what I like, what I dislike. And also we'll be talking about the intercooler in the front that's been fitted, and also the catback exhaust. So what I'll do is I'll probably start at the front. So we'll start with the front here, and the car has actually been to Forge Motorsport in Worcester area, and they did some development work on it, and they've actually fitted a front mount intercooler. You probably won't be able to see it because it sits behind the condenser. I don't know if you'll be able to see it in there. No, it sits sort of in between the radiator and the condenser, so it's very difficult to see, a bit stealth. But they have actually developed a intercooler for it and fitted it. So the intercooler, as a lot of people will know, reduces intake temperatures, which then in turn gives you more power. So with lower temperatures you're able to fit more air into the intake system, which means a bigger explosion, which means more power. So I'll just do a quick explanation of what an intercooler actually does. So you've got your intake here. This is where the air will come in. It will come in through sort of I think it might even be through these grills here, opening here, and it comes in through here, and it goes into the airbox, goes through the air filter, and it goes into the turbo. And this is where your forced induction is. So the turbo uses the exhaust gases to spin a turbine, which in turn then spins another turbine on the intake side. So the air goes into the turbo, it's then forced out at a much higher pressure and volume through a pipe, which comes down into the bottom of the intercooler, and then it uses loads of fins to cool the air as it goes across the front of the car. As obviously the air from when you're driving is going into the car, it cools the air right down, and there's an outlet pipe of the intercooler, which then comes up and goes, as you can see here, into the intake flat motor, which then is fed into the car. That is a basic overview how an intercooler works, and basically why it is beneficial performance wise to have a bigger intercooler is obviously the bigger surface area, the more volume of the intercooler, the more cooling that can occur within it, and obviously the lower the temperature going into the actual intake flap motor, the more air you can actually fit in there, which then increases power. So it has had an enlarged intercooler fitted, however it isn't going to be fully beneficial because it hasn't been mapped in, and it won't be mapped in on this car. I do not plan to remap the car because I don't want to void any warranty. So at the minute all that intercooler is actually doing is cooling down the existing boost that's been sent through it, which is a standard boost. So I'll probably be lucky if I see 8 or 9 brake horsepower using the standard map with the enlarged intercooler. So that is not really going to be a benefit, but we'll see, because I am going to do a 0 to 60 test a bit later in the video and see if we can beat like the Carwow time that they've got, which may be 4.7 or 4.8 to 60. So if we can beat that, then we know it has made a slight difference, but I suspect it probably won't. So that is what I've had done on the front, and also it is going back to Forge maybe this month or next month to have a full carbon intake fitted as well. Again, that may add a couple of brake horsepower, but again, it won't be mapped in. I hate these bonnets, they're on 2 latch now, these bonnets are really annoying. So moving on to the exhaust, and as you can see it has now got an aftermarket exhaust. This is from MILLTEK. So a couple of months ago the car went up to MILLTEK headquarters in Derby, and they have again developed a catback system for the car. This is a non-resonated catback with obviously enlarged carbon tips. They were going to develop a D-cat or a sports cat as well, but apparently it was quite difficult to remove the OPF. I think they mentioned you might even need to drop the subframe, remove the subframe to get the OPF out. So they didn't actually end up tampering with that, so they have just developed the catback for the moment. Now, when it first got fitted, it was actually quite quiet. For those of you who've seen other videos, and maybe my first video of the car when I did a first review on it anyway, the standard exhaust was really quiet. Just sounded like a 1.5 petrol. It was so quiet. When this first got fitted, it was actually still quite quiet. It was probably back up to the levels of the last generation S3 was standard, but it has now done about 300 to 400 miles. And it has got considerably louder. So we are going to do some startup rev tests, tunnel runs, and a few drive-bys of the new exhaust. So as it has only done 400 miles, it might still get louder yet, but I am fairly happy with how it is sounding. So we're just going to get a start up now. And don't worry, before anyone says, the car was up to operating temperature when I did that, so don't be concerned, I've just revved the nuts off it from cold. So that is the exhaust. Let me know what you think. I don't know how it comes across on camera. It does actually sound quite nice. I don't think it's quite as loud as the previous generation, the 8V with the MILLTEK catback non-resonated. However, I do think it is nice enough. And there is only so much you can do with these PPF, OPF filters nowadays, unless you completely remove them. They're so restrictive that it does muffle a lot of the noise. So unless you remove it completely and have it mapped out, this is pretty much as best you're gonna get at the minute with exhausts on PPF cars. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. What do you think about this car? A lot of people are saying they don't like it, they prefer the 8V, but I disagree. I mean, I know it's only my opinion, but I think this is nicer looking than the 8V. It's just, it looks more grown up. It looks more like a mini S4 than an S3. So it's like a bit, it just looks a bit classier than the old S3, if that makes sense. It feels like a baby S4, just that next level up in terms of like classiness and interior especially. But it is such a nice looking car. I mean, I've never had a saloon before. I've always had a hatchback, but this time round, I just thought the hatchbacks just didn't look as nice as. I don't think the 8Y hatchback looks as good as the 8V. I will agree with that, but I think the saloon is the best looking out of the lot. It just looks, don't know, it just looks really nice in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. So that is exhaust done, guys. What do you think about the MILLTEK? Do you think it's worth it, or would you have a standard system and not bother? Bearing in mind that the standard systems are so quiet, it probably plays into exhaust manufacturers' hands now to try and get these a bit louder, although they're probably never going to be as loud as the previous generation unless you remove that OPF. But what do you guys think about the exhausts? Are those tips too big? Let me know. Right, let's jump onto the inside. Now we jump on the inside, and a lot of people were unsure about the interior of this car, especially like these Lamborghini Urus type vents. Now after having it for just under 1,000 miles, 3 months now, I have grown to like it a lot better than what I thought, and I now consider it to be a massive upgrade from the 8V. It's just, again, it just feels a lot more premium. The infotainment more premium. The ambient lighting package just looks really nice as well with the, you can have any colour light going all around the car, all around here, all along the door trims as well. You've got the virtual cockpit, and yes, it is only 10.5 inches. However, it's never bothered me. I've never gone, oh, I wish it was the 12-inch option. That's never bothered me at all. So I'm completely happy with that. The bucket seats, obviously they're now standard. You get the stitching as standard now, and the bucket type seats as well. Touchscreen is fine. What I do like massively over the Golf 8, and I find the Golf 8 interior really frustrating with its lack of buttons. So just to get to some of the options on the Golf is an absolute nightmare. But with this, most of them are still touch buttons, so you've still got heated seat buttons, aircon, everything's still touch. You've got your drive select down here. The only thing isn't is your radio, home, music, telephone and maps. But it's all very accessible, very easy to get to, very easy to use. So I consider this to be a lot nicer place to be than a Golf Mark 8. There are a few drawbacks that I have noticed. That is, one you may be able to obviously see is the fingerprint marks on the touchscreen. That gets quite annoying. And also the gloss black piano bit down here. You can see I've actually wiped a little bit, but again, look, if you look around here, it just gets messy. And I'm also concerned in the future for scratches, because gloss black trims like this will scratch very easily. So I wish they maybe had done this more like this type of finish here, in maybe a darker type finish, so just so it won't show up scratches or little fingerprints like that. And other thing people have said is the gear selector stalk. I mean, again, I have no problem with it. It works absolutely fine. It's exactly the same as the old type. It's just, instead of having to obviously pull a button in and pull the lever back, you literally just flick it with your finger. It's no issue whatsoever, so I don't really know what people complain about. The only thing I would say is, because it's now obviously fully electronic, they don't need to put it there. It could have gone anywhere. Like Mercedes, they have it on the stalk. They could have put it more out the way, so they could have done more of this area instead of just using it as a trim. They could have had the wireless phone here. So I don't know what they could have done with it, but they could have just maybe made it look a little bit better. Another thing I don't like is this center console bit here. I mean, why didn't they just make a nice cover that goes over these cup holders, so when you're not using it, it doesn't look as bad as that? I mean, if I were to cut out the seats and the center console, you would say that came from a 1 litre Polo, for example. It just looks a bit naff and unfinished. yeah, they're just a bit annoying, that bit. And one of the main things that really gets on my nerves is that lane assist. Lane assist is the bane of my life, and you cannot turn it, well, you can turn it off. I've actually found out recently, if you hold this button on the stalk here down for about 5 seconds, it turns it off. However, every time you recycle the ignition, it turns it back on. That is really annoying, because any sort of white line that the car sees, it will fight you for it. So when you're going over a white line, and you haven't signaled, the car will basically try and chuck you back, and it's just really annoying. You end up fighting yourself, fighting the car to change lanes. But I wish you could just turn it off and leave it off, and you can't, which is really frustrating. The other thing that annoys me as well is at night when the lights are on, everything else is lit up, all the panels are lit up except for these tabs here. So when you have the ignition on, it's your climate control, but when it's pitch black and you can't actually see these buttons, you have to kind of guess which one does, like what one you're pressing. I don't know why these things here, these little lines here aren't lit up like everything else is. I'll just show you a shot at night so you can understand what I mean. Yeah, so it's quite hard to see. So why they didn't light those up, I don't know. I think that's pretty much my likes and dislikes done for the interior. So now I'm going to set it up and we'll go for a little drive. So what is this S3 like to live with every day? I think it's just a perfect daily car. I've never really been a fan of like the Mustang, like a big GT car. I never liked it. In fact, I hated it. It was so boaty. It's too big. You couldn't put the power down. It was just not. I prefer a nimble, small, point-to-point car that is quick, and that's exactly what this is. Like this RS3, it's just perfect. Four-wheel drive, automatic now because they're quicker. This is just like the perfect type of car for me. What have I noticed compared to the previous generation S3? The steering is a lot nicer. You feel a lot more connected to the road. It's a lot firmer when you would want it to be. Like round corners, you can really feel it. It has got that progressive steering. So the steering I have noticeably felt is improved. The gearbox, there's a positive and quite a big negative with the gearbox that I've noticed. So it feels like it changes gear a lot quicker. It almost, like if I pressed mute, I wouldn't know when the car changed gear. It just doesn't feel like there's a let up in power at all. It just felt really, really quick, and I noticed that straight away. What I also have noticed is a lot more when it's cold, the gearbox lags a lot. So sometimes when I come off my roundabout at home, I'll come off the roundabout, I'll put my foot down, and no word of a lie, for sometimes nearly 3 seconds, nothing will happen. So I'm starting to climb up a hill and I've put my foot down, and there's been an instance where I've put my foot all the way down to just before the kick down, and I've held it there for nearly 3 seconds before the car's actually dropped a few gears and gone. That's happened quite a lot of times. I don't know if it's a problem, or I don't know if it's just how the car is, but the gearbox lag is annoying. It can be sorted if you put it into sport, but you don't always want to put it into sport first thing on 7 o'clock in the morning, just driving commuting to work. You don't want to have to stick it into sport just to get the gearbox to respond. So that's the downside. Engine wise, yes, it feels just as quick than the 8V. It does feel stronger bottom end. Top end, it just feels like it runs out of puff a little bit. However, obviously if you've seen the latest Carwell video, it is a tad bit quicker than the old one, considering it is 100 kilos heavier. My opinion personally is it's probably got the same power output as the Golf R. They just haven't advertised it as 320 brake horsepower, but they're probably the exact same engine. Why else would it be a little bit quicker, even though it's 100 kilos heavier, which is a lot. 100 kilos is a lot. I mean, I use this car all the time. I carry my son in it. I have a child seat in the back, absolutely spot on. There's loads of room with him in it. I put the car seat all the way forward so he doesn't kick the back of the seat and make loads of marks on it. It's really smooth, it's really quiet, it just feels more refined, and I keep saying it, it just feels like a baby S4 in terms of quality, refinement and just appearance. And if I just bang it to sport, or even bang it down a couple of gears, sounds epic, and it is quick. It is quick. Right, let's see if I can get a cheeky 0 to 60 and see how it compares to a standard S3, I suppose. I mean, this is 99% standard. Let's see what I can see if I can do it here. I don't know if I can. I'll just see quickly. Right. Let's see if I can do it. Right, ready? I don't have a draggy holder, so that was my drag. I don't even know where it went. It flew off the car, so whether that's an accurate reading, I have no idea. But we shall check out. We'll wait till we get back, see what it says. Short shifted. It's better than the 8V in pretty much every way. However, it's only just better than the 8V in pretty much every single way. I'd say the interior is the most notable upgrade, but everything else is just a little bit better. There's no way the leap that there was between the 8P and the 8V, that was a massive, obviously it was MQB, it was a completely different platform, a massive jump. This one is still on the MQB, the chassis is pretty much the same, there is just smaller tweaks. So would I buy, if I had the choice again, would I buy this over, say, a year-old 8V that's probably 10 grand cheaper? I don't know. After getting back, I have a few figures to see what she did. I can't remember off the top of my head what the Carwell figures are. The 0 to 60, the quarter mile for this is. I have a few figures. The first one, the first 0 to 60 was actually 4.68 seconds, and that was with a 2.5 degree of incline slope. I'll put the report up for you now so you can have a look. Again, I cannot remember what that is relative to the standard time. I think it might be a little bit quicker, but as I said, it's barely anything. Another 0 to 60 I did here, look, I'll just put that one up here. That was 4.4, but it was this time minus 2.2. So you could probably take an average of what, 4.55 is probably an average of what this this would do if it was a 0 degree 0 to 60. So yes, it's a little bit quicker, it seems, than a stock car, but it is also 2 degrees ambient temperature as well, which will massively help. Quarter mile. Interestingly, I've got 2 figures, both identical pretty much. One was 13.06 with a 1 degree incline, and one was 13.05 with a 0.1% incline. Interestingly, that is the quicker one was the time where it short shifted into second. So it should have probably been a little bit quicker than that. So there are my times. Obviously we're referencing the car with a Forge intercooler in, but that's without any map tweaking or boosting or anything. Sorry, I thought I had gesture control, then it moved. That's without any map boosting or tweaking or anything. That's completely standard map, just with additional cooling. So what is my verdict? What are my thoughts? If I were to have the chance again, it completely depends on funding. If you were a cash buyer, you wouldn't probably buy this car. I mean, it'd be 39 grand cash. You just wouldn't do it. You'd save £10,000 and you'd spend 20, maybe even 27 grand, and you'd be able to get for that a 6-7 month old S3 Black Edition 8V. So that would make complete sense. However, if you were going to PCP this car, then this car's probably not much more expensive than an 8V, just because of the residual values, etc., and the fact that you get a better finance rate on a new car as opposed to a used one. So this may be only about 30 to 40 quid a month more than a new one. And would I spend £40 a month more on this? Yeah, I probably would. Yeah. So basically, to sum it up, it's a really nice car. Now I've lived with it for a lot longer, I've gotten used to it, it's grown on me a lot more. I think the interior is really nice, I think the exterior is really nice. Yes, there's a few niggles like there is on every car, however it is better than the S3, but just a little bit better in every single way, not massively. So as always guys, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy this review, I know it's not my forte, I don't do this, I'm more about hands-on repairing cars. I'm not that good at speaking and stuff like that. So if you did enjoy this review guys, let me know in the comments. If you don't want me to do it again, let me know in the comments. I'm absolutely fine with that. So as always guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next one. Cheers guys.